This is Arkies in the Beltway, your look at national politics and the Arkansans influencing the discussions. I'm Alex Thomas, Washington correspondent for the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, reporting from the nation's capital. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Arkies in the Beltway for the week of January 26, 2025. 4 years ago, Donald Trump left Washington, D.C., having lost his re-election bid to Joe Biden. Trump's departure happened weeks after pro-Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol, bringing the certification of the 2020 presidential election to a halt. Trump walked into the U.S. Capitol last Monday, ready to start his second term in office.
Preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts administered the oath of office to Trump, now the 47th President of the United States. Trump is the second president to serve non-consecutive terms in the White House, the first Grover Cleveland, who was the 22nd and 24th president. Many Arkansans made the trip to Washington, D.C. for the occasion, including Mike McMillan of Hot Springs. McMillan and his wife Lindley had plans to attend the inauguration ceremony, regardless of who won last November.
We were thinking about it months ago and wanted to come be a part of the transition and the amazing historical day that it was going to be, either first female black American president or Donald Trump coming back the second time, and just knew we wanted to be a part of it.
Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance succeeding Biden and Kamala Harris in office. Lawmakers and distinguished guests packed the U.S. Capitol Rotunda for the inauguration ceremony. The event was supposed to take place on the U.S. Capitol's West Front, but Trump called for moving the event inside because of cold temperatures. Wes and Laura Baxter of Jonesboro watched the inauguration from Capital One Arena, the venue serving as home to the NBA's Washington Wizards and the NHL's Washington Capitals. Laura Baxter says it was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to be part of Trump's electoral victory.
When he says he's going to do something, he does it. And that's important to me, and we just wanted to be a part of this historic event.
Capital One Arena served as the host site for an alternative to the scheduled inauguration parade. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders spoke before Trump's arrival to the venue. Sanders was White House press secretary for 2 years in the first Trump presidency.
I've had the opportunity to stand behind a microphone and defend and celebrate this president many times. But this may be the very proudest, because I know over the next 4 years, he is going to rebuild our country and make it the best that it has ever been.
Trump starts his second term with Republicans controlling the Senate and House of Representatives. 5 members of the Arkansas congressional delegation serve as committee chairs in the 119th Congress. One of Trump's first actions in office, delaying a ban on TikTok. The president signed an executive order allowing the platform to continue operating in the United States until early April. The move after TikTok temporarily shut down services because its owner ByteDance failed to sell the social media app and its other properties. Congress last April gave ByteDance 270 days to make a move or face a nationwide ban. Lawmakers' concerns about TikTok stem from ByteDance's Chinese ownership and fears China's government can access the data of American users. TikTok has challenged assertions regarding its practices. 2 of the most vocal TikTok opponents on Capitol Hill, Senator Tom Cotton and Representative Rick Crawford. Both Arkansans lead the Congressional Intelligence Committees. Crawford of Jonesboro says he worries how TikTok could be abused for China's gain.
And I think it's important to not get wrapped up in he hates TikTok or he doesn't like social media. That's a conversation for another time. What I don't like is, the Chinese Communist Party exploiting American people, and particularly American young people.
Trump has suggested U.S. investors enter a joint venture with TikTok's current owners. Cotton of Little Rock wants TikTok out of ByteDance's hands.
What the law contemplates and the best path forward, I believe, is for a group of American investors or an American company to buy it in a way that can certifiably and publicly break all ties with ByteDance and with China.
The Democrat-Gazette reached out to TikTok regarding Trump's executive order. That request for comment went unanswered. The platform described its reinstatement in a social media post as a strong stand for the First Amendment and against arbitrary censorship. Another early decision by the president, pardoning people involved in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Around 1,500 people received pardons and 14 others had their sentences commuted. All 6 members of the Arkansas congressional delegation were on Capitol Hill when pro-Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol. Representative Bruce Westerman of Hot Springs says he would have handled these pardons differently.
Not saying there weren't people who shouldn't have received pardons, but I wish it would have done it more on a case-by-case basis, especially the ones who were convicted of assaulting police officers.
Senator Cotton acknowledges he doesn't fully agree with the president's decision.
I will say, whatever you think of any of those pardons, they pale in comparison to the pardons that Joe Biden has issued over the last 2 months.
The senator is referencing some of the final actions of Joe Biden's presidency. Biden pardoned his son Hunter despite promising against such action, as well as members of his family, citing unrelenting attacks against him. Biden issued preemptive pardons for Anthony Fauci, Mark Milley, and members of the House's January 6th committee. He additionally commuted several hundred sentences of people placed on home confinement during the coronavirus pandemic. Cotton notes something else: the results of last November's election.
The American people rendered their verdict on what they thought about January 6th. It was a riot. It was a regrettable day, but it's not something that they want to dwell on when they can barely afford to pay the rent, pay the groceries, pay their utility bills, and so forth.
Trump promised on the campaign trail to pardon those charged with crimes for the U.S. Capitol riot. The Senate remains busy with considering Trump's picks for his administration. The Senate Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry Committee held a hearing last Thursday with Brooke Rollins, the nominee to lead the Department of Agriculture. Rollins told senators the agency needs someone at the helm to help farmers and producers amid a period of declining net farm incomes.
I fully recognize that if I am confirmed, I am stepping into the role during one of the most economically challenging times in American agriculture history.
The committee chair is a person familiar with Arkansas's agriculture sector. Senator John Boozman of Rogers wields the gavel after 4 years as the committee's ranking member. In his opening statement, Boozman emphasized the importance of Congress finally passing a new farm bill.
Agriculture is not partisan. We all care about our nation's farmers and ranchers. The state of rural America concerns us all. We all believe that no American should be hungry. I intend for this committee to be highly productive in the 119th Congress. Working together this year, we will pass a farm bill that will meet the needs of our farmers for today and for the future.
The previous Congress twice delayed passing new legislation to authorize nutrition, rural development, and agriculture programs. The Senate and House have until the end of September to replace the standing 2018 law. Representative Crawford serves on the House Agriculture Committee. That committee's top Democratic member, Minnesota Representative and West Helena, Arkansas native, Angie Craig. Representative French Hill presiding over his first meeting as the chair of the House Financial Services Committee. Hill of Little Rock wielding the gavel after serving as vice chair under now retired North Carolina Representative Patrick McHenry. Hill says voters last November sent a message on what Congress should prioritize, but that doesn't mean there isn't room for bipartisanship.
As we've demonstrated time and time again last Congress, this committee works best when it works in a successful bipartisan fashion. And it's my intention that we'll continue that work in this Congress.
In the last Congress, Hill played an instrumental role putting together a bill to regulate digital assets, such as cryptocurrencies. The House did approve that legislation, but the Senate never considered the matter. Representative Westerman, hopeful the Senate will finally consider one of his bills. The House passed the Fix Our Forest Act last Thursday. The last House also approved this legislation. The measure calls for expediting environmental reviews for forest management projects and promoting actions to make forests more resilient to dangerous situations. Westerman introduced the bill with Scott Peters, a Democrat representing San Diego and surrounding communities in California. Peters says the ongoing fires in Los Angeles made the bill worth reconsidering.
Even if you think, and I've heard this from a lot of my colleagues, that this is not a perfect bill, well, no bill's perfect, and any bipartisan compromise is going to have things in it you like and you don't like, but I think people really have come to the conclusion that the status quo is really not acceptable.
The House vote happened as Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson floated setting conditions for California to receive federal assistance. Westerman says this bill needs to be separate from that discussion.
I don't think this bill should really be included in the debate over disaster relief.
The Senate Agriculture Committee will receive the legislation for its review. Westerman and Peters are still looking for Senate sponsors to move the measure through Congress's upper chamber. Arkansas's House members paying tribute to a longtime congressman. Burl Anthony Jr. died earlier this month at the age of 86. The El Dorado native represented Arkansas's 4th District from 1979 to 1993. Representatives Crawford, Hill, Womack, and Westerman honored Anthony on the House floor last Thursday. Representative Hill says Anthony served with a deep sense of commitment toward bettering the lives of Arkansans.
Over the next 14 years, he proved himself to be a tireless advocate, a thoughtful policymaker, and a champion for the working families in the 4th District.
Anthony lived in Palm City, Florida at the time of his death. He is survived by his wife and their 2 daughters. And that'll do it for this edition of Arkies in the Beltway for the week of January 26th, 2025. You can stay up to date with all news involving Arkansas at arkansasonline.com. You can get in touch with me on social media. My handle on most platforms is @AlexHouseThomas, and you can also find me on Blue Sky. Special thanks, as always, to the team down in Little Rock. I'm Alex Thomas, and this has been Arkies in the Beltway. Thanks for listening.